Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar From Maps to Impact, How States Use Energy Access Explorer to Inform Planning. In this webinar, we'll start off with introducing the Energy Access Explorer, which is an open source geospatial platform that can help visualize data on energy supply and demand, alongside other data sets to inform energy planning decisions. We'll also get a chance to learn about how different states across India use the EE platform to inform their own energy planning decisions. So before we proceed, I'd like to share some housekeeping rules. Abdul, could you proceed to the next slide? So this webinar, it'll run for 1.5 hours. It's currently being recorded, and the recording will be available on WRI India's YouTube channel. We have a dedicated question and answer session at the end. You can use the Q&A box to submit your questions. The speakers are kindly requested to remain on mute when they're not speaking. And for any feedback, you can write to us at indiaenergy@wri.org. So now I'll walk us through the agenda. So we're starting off with setting the context. Then we'll have a presentation on the Energy Access Explorer platform. Finally, we'll have a panel discussion on how partners across India use the EAE platform. And then we'll have a Q&A session and close the webinar. So I would now like to hand it over to my colleague Beena, who will speak about the Data Lab Unbox series that this webinar is a part of.
Right. Thanks, Vaibhav, and a very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for our very first webinar in our Data Lab Unbox series. This is a new webinar series where we'll be taking a closer look at how our programs at WRI India bring together data, geospatial science, technology, and analytics to inform investments and shape policy. For our first series, we're putting the spotlight on our products. Our portfolio is incredibly diverse. So from using object detection algorithms to count crowds, to using satellite imagery to monitor changes in our ecosystems, our analytical approach is guided by our counted change and scale it philosophy. So we use data and tools to help us measure climate risk, identify where and how to act, and finally scale action across geographies. So over the coming sessions, we'll hear directly from the people behind these products, understand the thinking and technology that goes into them, see how our stakeholders are using these tools to move from insights to investments and implementation. So today we're going to kickstart the series with the Energy Access Explorer. It's the first digital public good or DPG developed by WRI India and its partners and brings together multiple layers of data to help us understand where investments can have the greatest impact, supporting more informed and equitable energy planning. So with that, I will pass it on to my colleague Abdul, who will present and give us a walkthrough of the tool. Over to you, Abdul.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Bina, for setting the context so well. So, hi, my name is Abdul Khalid, and I am from the energy team of WR India. I work within the Energy Access Explorer project itself, along with a few other folks who work alongside with me. And I'll be giving a basic presentation on the Energy Access Explorer platform, and also I'll give you a small demonstration on how the Energy Access Explorer platform works and what kind of data sets are actually hosted on the platform, how the analysis happens, and so forth. So I will just move to the next slide. And before even I speak about the Energy Access Explorer, I want to just create a base on how energy plays a core foundation in the present modern civilization. We already know that it powers almost everything from daily household needs and healthcare systems to global industries, digital communication networks, and economic development. Access to reliable power improves living standards and reduces poverty, while the global shift towards cleaner energy is vital to combat clean climate change. So, moving to the next slide, I would like to reinforce that statement in itself. So, The reinforcement can be seen when we look at the SDG targets in itself. So we can see that 169 of these sub-indicators, nearly 74% of those have linkages to energy, highlighting energy's role as an enabler in achieving these SDGs. Moving to the next slide. So I not only talking about the importance of energy is enough. We have to see that we have to look at certain things which helps us to get into the scale of the energy planning itself. So when we get into energy planning, that means we are talking about which type of energy, how much of it, and where those energy needs are. With this in mind, there are a couple of things that we need to focus on. The first one being integrated planning, which is essential for matching supply and demand and incorporating cost-effective decentralized renewable energy. And the second one is to understand the importance of inclusive energy planning itself, which is essential for accounting different stakeholder perspective, assessing energy needs at the most granular level possible, and also bringing together various energy systems at different geographic levels. So to obtain integrated and inclusive energy planning, these are the basic requirements which you can see on the screen, which WRI India came up to create a planning tool such as the EAE platform or the Energy Access Explorer platform. The first one is to treat demand and supply as equal parameters during the energy planning process. The second one was to democratize the data and the platform itself, thereby reducing the programming needs and also reducing the reliance on how the data sets can be procured for doing those kind of energy planning, and also to the keep the platform open source and also the source code which has been utilized for building the platform itself open source, so that it can be scaled up and can be utilized for developing something similar if somebody has some type of idea to create some in these particular ways. This is the landing page of the Energy Access platform itself. The tool, as I said earlier, has been developed by WRI India's Energy Program along with its partners. And as it says on the screen, it is the world's first digital public good to deliver climate compatible energy transitions for everyone. The tool has been developed to assist government departments, entrepreneurs, planners, researchers, and other stakeholders working in the space of development and planning and prioritization activities. And this has been developed with the vision that to harness geospatial data and technology for inclusive energy transitions to drive climate resilient development for people and communities. So before moving to the further slides itself, which speaks more on the use cases of the platform, I will be sharing the platform directly so that I can walk you through the platform and so that you can have some perspective before I speak about the use cases itself. So I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment and I'll jump into a browser and open the EA platform. So just give me a second. I hope everybody can see my screen now. So this is the landing page as I showed in the presentation itself as well, right? So this is the landing page of the Energy Access Explorer platform. So we can browse through the platforms and through the landing page, and we might see the use cases and additional materials on the EE platform. So I'll directly jump into the tool itself. So we can go into the tool by clicking on the stop tool button or the explore data button. I click here so that we can jump into the tool. So there are a number of geographies for which the EA platform is present. In India, it is present for 4 geographies in an open source environment, and there are multiple other geographies for which we are developing behind the scenes as well. So these are the international countries where the tool is present. I'll directly jump into the one of the geographies, which is Jharkhand, which we can do by clicking in India. I have one one of the instances loaded, I'll directly jump into that. So when we jump into the Jharkhand instance, we can see that the platform looks something like this. So the data sets can be populated from the top, from the extreme left side of the panel, which we can see here. Here is something called add layers. And we can start by getting into this add layer section. Once we add those layers, it will get populated into the active layers section, which is already populated here. So I'll directly start adding layers so that I can show that how it works around here. Within the add layers functionality, you will see that the data sets are categorized and subcategorized into a number of categories and subcategories, right? So the first one being demand, second one being supply, and there are other ones which are named as timeline, others, and the one of them is displaying that all the data sets can be seen when we click here. So all in all, the main categories are actually the demand and supply one, and there are other categories or subcategories in under which we can put the data sets into. But for the platform to function, these two are only enough. So I'll be selecting one from the demand side, one from the supply side, so that we can get some kind of analysis going on at the center of the screen itself. So I'll be selecting something from the healthcare facilities. So I'll be selecting your non-electrified sub-centers. So I'll go for electricity only supply only. So here you can see I have just put a filter by searching for with the help of a keyword which I already know that there is a lack of electricity supply at the subcenter itself. So I'll be selecting one of the layers called health subcenter regular electricity supply no. So this indicates that the healthcare facilities which do not have electricity will be populated on the screen. So if I click on any one of the healthcare facility also, it will show its attributes showing that which healthcare facility is it and the ones which do not have electricity. So this has been selected. I'll select something from the supply side, remove this filter. I will add a data set called the global horizontal irradiance. So the global horizontal irradiation, so I have clicked on the metadata itself. So it gives you an idea about what kind, like how much solar energy dispersion is there all over the geography itself. So it gives you the solar energy potential idea about what where how much solar potential is there. So we select this layer for the solarization example itself. So right now, what we are trying to understand is which is the most feasible location to be solarized on the basis of these two indicators. The one of them is the health sub center does not have any electricity and the does not have regular electricity. The other one is global horizontal irradiation. So when we jump into the analysis itself, we can see something like this. So here is some filter which is there. So we see something like this. So what is this analysis telling us? It is actually telling us the energy access potential of the whole region itself on a pixelated level or on a raster level, with the help of which we can understand which regions are more feasible for doing solarization on the basis of these two indicators, right? So we can get into the top analysis by getting into this analysis show analysis window, getting into the high priority areas and directly clicking at the location which is showcasing as the highest priority region. This can be achieved. This is a short, you can say a short demo of how we can utilize a platform and achieve some kind of basic analysis. uh, Apart from doing this, we can also jump into one of the districts. Suppose if somebody utilizing the platform does not want to visualize the whole district, its whole state itself, and there is a focus district they want to work on, they can go into change geographies, they can directly go into a particular district, and they will be only able to see the district as well. I'll hide the base layers so that it does not create some hindrance. So you will be able to see something like this. And same again, the show analysis feature will show the most feasible location for the electrification or the solarization activity. So this is how this can be achieved. There are a lot of other functionalities of the EA platform, but I would suggest that the people who have joined for the webinar itself would come to CK and the Connect Karo event, which is happening next month. So the details will be shared in the further slides itself. So you can come there and you can go through the, we will be showcasing the platform itself. You all are also free to utilize the platform and see how the platform works. I'll just show one or two other features, small features. If somebody wouldn't want to do it on a raster level, they can do it on a district level to understand which districts are more feasible for doing these kind of solarization activities, or also we can go into the block level also to understand what can be done. Similarly, when I was showcasing this high priority areas, now everything has changed into block level, and also the whole list can be obtained from in the form of CSV by getting into this. There is a lot to soak in, so I will just stop here itself for the demonstration, and I'll jump into the platform to showcase a few use cases which we achieved by utilizing the platform in the regions of India itself. So I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment and I'll directly jump into the presentation once again. Yeah. So I stopped somewhere here with the vision itself. I'll jump into the use cases of the EE platform. So So the use cases in itself of the EA platform are diverse. It is not directly as I have shown one of the examples which is linked to your healthcare. Similarly, there are multiple other use cases which are linked to disaster resilience, impact investment related stuff, PURE, which stands for productive uses of renewable energy, as I said, the health electrification, and also climate energy related planning as well. So there is a diverse sectoral approach which can be taken with the help of EA, and it depends on user to user on how they utilize the platform itself. So I will be speaking about a few of these cases which we have already seen while working on the ground, and I'll speak about them in a brief detail and not too much detail because there are links to it for which you can keep on reading through the blogs that we have published. My colleagues will be pasting the link to the blogs or any other material which has been developed on the work that we have done. The first one is related to climate proofing Assam. So this particular use case was done for the state of Assam, where WRI India helped the Assam State Technology and Education Council in identifying 176 villages out of 26,000 villages in Assam for a flagship program of Chief Minister known as the Chief Minister's Climate Resilient Village Fellowship Scheme. So there we help them identify or narrow down the number of villages which could be utilized for focusing on the interventions that could be done by the students who were related to the program itself. So this was done for the first tranche of the program which was launched by the CM. So the next one is with regards to solarizing flood relief shelters in the Nalbari district of Assam. So here also the EA platform was utilized for identifying the top 10 schools come relief shelters which could be solarized on the basis of multiple parameters which included your solar potential, which I showed on the platform itself as well, right? So the solar potential, which is identified by your GHI values or the global horizontal irradiation values, the location of the flood relief shelters, come schools, the utilization, the multiple or the multiple ways the schools were being used, both as relief shelters and also as polling booths. And on the basis of all these criteria, maybe one or two other criteria were also utilized for identifying the schools which could be standardized. And after we ran it through the EA platform with the multi-criteria analysis capability, a list was generated. The top 10 a list of top 10 schools were generated, and it was forwarded to the Nalbari district administration for them to take up for the solarization activity. The next example is from the state of Jharkhand. So the one which I already showed a demo of, there the electricity status of the healthcare facility, specifically your sub center, was utilized for doing this particular analysis, that whether the facility has regular or irregular power supply. And the next one was the GHI values. That was another layer which was showcased in the demo itself, right? So these two layers were utilized. Apart from that, there might be one or two other criteria which were utilized for identifying the healthcare facilities which needed to be focused on for the um, solarization or electrification related intervention. And the list of this was shared with Jharkhand Renewable Energy Development Agency, and they took it up from there for the solarization activity. In similar lines, there was another intervention which was done again for Jharkhand for Gedi block in Jharmundi district. So there also list was forwarded to same entity, Jharkhand Renewable Energy Development Agency. So there we identified the streets which needed your solar street light, and it was again identified on the basis of your, the first obviously goes without saying that the street networks were populated into the EAE platform. Apart from that, we had other data sets like a population density data set, which helps us to identify in which regions uh, more population is there, and on the basis of that, those particular regions got higher priority within the block itself. And the other one is your GHI values again, since we are talking about solarization. So the GHI value layer was again utilized, the global horizontal irradiation or the solar irradiation layer was utilized to identify the streets for solarization. So those were the use cases I wanted to speak about. There are multiple other use cases. Probably the links to those may be shared by my colleague in the chat itself, so that can be shared. Due to the constraint of time, I wanted to share only a few of these. You can go ahead and see the use cases which are already showcased in the landing page of the EA platform. You can feel free to go through them. There are multiple papers also which are cited there. You can go through them. Finally, I would like to just conclude speaking about how EAE is maintaining its digital public good status right now. First and foremost, it was the first cohort, is part of the first cohort of your digital public goods for climate action. The source code of the EA platform is there on GitHub, and the documentation is properly done. You can go through it and you can see if you want to replicate the platform, anyone is free to go ahead and do that. The training materials are free and up to date. The links to it can be shared by one of my colleagues in the chat. The continuity is a type of continuity is there for the capacity development of the platform itself within the community. There are something called EA badges, which the people who are trying to get proficiency on the platform itself, they get. It can be showcased in LinkedIn as well. It will help you to get an edge over energy related planning or multi criteria analysis related planning with the help of EE platform. The link to that also will be shared by one of my colleagues. There is a community which is ongoing, which supports the people who are working in this particular platform. We have been working on the platform to make it as much interoperable as possible. The platform works with the outputs of your onset and on stove, and the EA, the people who are working in EA continues to support monitoring, evaluation, and learning related aspects for the platform. So with this, I will conclude my presentation. I have already overshot by a minute. I will forward it to my colleague Akanksha Saklani to take over, who is the lead of the Energy Access Explorer, and she can continue and pick up for the panel discussion. So thank you.
Thanks, Abdul. So We can start. Thank you, Abdul, so much for giving a brief snippet for Energy Access Explorer, how the tool works, and it is supporting integrated and inclusive energy planning in different geographies in different states. Uh, and so EAE, it's like it's the way we work is like EAE is more than maps. It can allow you to change those complex the spatial data into some actionable insights, which then are taken on the ground at different areas. And I should also mention that EAE is not WRI India or one organization. It's a part and effort of the different stakeholders and partners and different organizations and who has been over the years they have been a part of our journey. They have supported us in different ways, components, and how does it grow over there. And he is also the brain of different people who have been coming in terms of academia, different journal, different partners. So I'll stop there, and I'm very thrilled to announce the panelists who will be joining us. We are waiting for Mr. Dinesh from Energy Management Center of Kerala because he was just called in for a last minute meeting. But maybe we can start with Dr. Kripal Jyoti Majumdar. He's the project officer, recovery and response at Assam State Disaster Management Authority. And we are joined with engineer Mathung Khitan. He is project director, Nagaland GIS and Remote Sensing Center uh, in Nagaland. Welcome, sir. It's so glad to have you here. And you have been, big partners in the way EAE has been developing for states of Assam, Nagaland, and Kerala and Jharkhand when different part sir joins in. So maybe we can start from Kripal sir. Assam is a very unique state, and it also it faces a lot of flood and disaster, and it's not only flood, right? It also has heating, and you are working in the project recovery and response sector. So in your work, how energy plays a role as an invisible engine towards the having the impact. Can you walk us through an example how visualizing, analyzing geospatial data help through EAE help you to decide where to prioritize resources and intervention?
Yeah, thank you, Akanksha, for inviting to this particular webinar, and I think very thought-provoking, kind of interaction with all the partners that WRI India has. Well, as far as the context of Assam is concerned, you know, Assam is a perennially, flood-prone state, and every year we have been, devastated by flood. And this year also, I hope all the people must have heard about the kind of situation we are in. Before coming to this, particular webinar, also we have been preparing a report for, submitting to Government of India on the present context. But anyway, coming back to your, your particular, query or question about, Assam's experience of, using your particular platform, the kind of, the example of how, Energy Access Explorer, platform, how we have prioritized and how we have, utilized our, data that we have been in our repository, and with how this has interacted with the Energy Access Explorer platform. So, ASDM, Assam State Disaster Management Authority, we have been implementing a joint initiative of solarizing around 40 selected, relief camps across the flood-prone districts of Assam. Through, of course, it's a kind of, integration of our database, and also we are taking one step forward to, integrate our disaster risk information management system. It is a IMS, information management system, that we run in our state, integrating the API of our Dreams portal with that of the EAE portal that has been developed by WRA India. Basically, this integration brings geospatial energy access data directly into ASDAMA's operational planning workflow, and more or less it's helped us in prioritizing the relief camps for solarization activities, and these are mostly like evidence based. When we integrate both the system, so it's obviously it becomes a evidence based prioritization, while selecting those relief camps which are, or prioritizing those relief camps which has been in use for last almost 3 to 5 years. And this is again one of the condition while we are selecting those relief camps. Then we have hundreds of pre-identified, in fact thousands of pre-identified relief camps, because as I mentioned in my earlier statement, that we have been perennially affected by flood every year. So we have more than 4,500 pre-identified relief camp in our state. And this is particularly, this particular platform become useful for us to prioritize those relief camps which are already being in use, apart from these pre-identified relief camps. So overlaying the layers of EAE's geospatial layers with I mean, which basically gives us the grid distance and existing electrification status, and that with the ASDAMA's own records of camps that we maintain in our DREAMS portal, disaster reporting and information management portal. And based on the flood recurrence history of those areas, those relief camps, those districts, or those camps that are being used. Okay, so this allowed us as very stringent and very stratified kind of selection process to move beyond administrative quotas or ad hoc kind of requests that we basically, whenever we do this kind of activities or this kind of projects, mostly we do in ad hoc basis. However, this particular integration has really become very handy for us for for selecting or prioritizing those relief camp for solarization. So and then this kind of as I mentioned, this intersection of two or three conditions become the core prioritization filter as far as these camps, relief camps with chronic energy gaps in terms of poor grid connectivity, or with camps with chronic disaster exposure pattern. As I mentioned, we have selected those relief camps which has been active in last 4 to 5 years. So those data are available in our portal as well. So these actually the camps which has made both the criteria were prioritized at the first instances. Then since this solar microgrid, there would be we see the highest utilization pattern, so that we can replace the most fragile, expensive energy sources, and we can deliver the greatest resilience return per rupee invested. Okay, so that was the ultimate aim of this particular solarization prioritization exercise. And in fact, over a period of time, when we conducted this kind of exercises, both ASDMA and WRI in India, so it becomes like we can approach to some other funding agencies also to to select those prioritized relief camps for solarization. So in fact, I'm happy to mention it here that this year we have already uh, as we have selected 40 relief camps. So education department, we also rope in our education department in this particular initiative, and we have also find out one partner for implementing this particular project, which is IEEE. So this is all about as far as your particular queries for energy and working through the specific example how EAE and other data platform shape the prioritization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So, I mean, and you actually gave me a very good segue, right? You brought in education department, you talked about disaster, you talked about philanthropy, and that is something which we are also learning, because ultimately the work or the platform grows to evolve the need of the users and different partners. So bringing this together, and with this segue, I'll actually go to Khitan sir. Matung sir, so you come from a GIS department, right? And when we talked about bringing the data together from various sources, this is something we are doing together in Nagaland along with the leadership of GIS department. So how, you know, so there it is like spatial data is a backbone, and then your department then acts as a technical backbone for the entire state. So how has integrating spatial, state level spatial data into a shared platform has changed the way different departments communicate and plan the work together?
Hi, thanks Akansha for having me. First of all, I convey my greetings from Nagaland to the team WRI, all participants, and present here in the webinar. From maps to impact, before I get directly into this, let me give a context. In Nagaland, our center, my center, the Nagaland GIS Remote Sensing, functions as the state nodal agency for geospatial technologies like that of remote sensing, GIS, drone-based technology, space-based technologies, Therefore, our role is not limited to any one sector, as you have rightly pointed out. We support different departments, line department, by providing common geospatial framework for planning and decision making. When I say this, it doesn't mean everything is a smooth sailing. We face challenges, and one of the most important challenge that we experience is that departments often possesses valuable data sets. But these data sets tends to remain within the departmental system. Access and sharing can also be difficult, largely because of concerns like the data ownership, custodianship, and the control over the data. I suppose and I truly believe that WRI Team Nagaland may have also encountered some of these challenges while working with different stakeholders. Of course, the equation have changed by now. However, nevertheless, once such data sets are brought together on a common platform, the planning process begins to change significantly. It becomes more efficient, realistic, and applicable. Departments are able to move beyond their purely specific sectors perspective and understand the interrelationship between different developmental parameters. For example, settlement, roads, power, health, education facilities, natural resources, or disaster, socio-economic indicator can be viewed as a common spatial framework for more holistic planning approach. Today, our center is collaborating with or working with more about 50 different line departments and agencies across the state. And this has reinforced our understanding that geospatial planning is most effective when data are viewed collectively rather than in isolation. In this context, a platform such as EAE complements the state geospatial initiative by bringing together energy-related information with socio-economic and development data sets. At the first glance, and what we understood as EME appears to be primarily relevant to power or new and renewable energy sector. But with time now we have realized and we see that its utility is much wider and it has a far-reaching impact. I think I used to have a very regular communication with Mr. Abdul, our Nagaland team. I used to consider him as our team. And the platform, as we discussed, the said platform can support planning in agriculture, infrastructure development, rural development, disaster management, education, several other developmental sector. And this I say that because, see, when we talk about like planning in any of this sector that I have mentioned, it's power is requisite, prerequisite. And without power, you cannot plan anything, be it in education sector, be it in agriculture. And we are working on this site suitability crop analysis. That's also, and then that also we are integrating and then bringing up a relationship with the EAE, because for any kind of agriculture related development activities, you need power to sustain it, to make it progressive, to achieve the goals and targets. In that sense, like EAE helps shift planning from departmental or sector specific approach towards a more integrated location based approach to development. For a state like Nagaland, and likewise any other northeastern states, or for that matter like any hilly terrain state where terrain accessibility and dispersed settlements are of major consideration, I feel, and this kind of integrated spatial planning is particularly important. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And you touched about on it on in terms of energy when we started with EAE and it came as energy, and then eventually we realized. So I think this was also something which we also started looking, right, when EAE in India was developed. We looked at how energy can be an enabler in different sectors, be it health, education, and disaster was something which came across because we always thought disaster first thing is to rescue people, and then when we started talking to Kripal sir, we realized that yes, it's a lot more than disaster. It's also about connecting to people when the disaster strikes, right? If they can call their family, it's needed for cooling, it needs for cooking, even for the wash and sanitation, right? So Kripal sir, would you want to actually come in here and say that how bringing in that energy angle in disaster actually supports the the development outcomes or the agenda of ASDAMA, and how we can together contribute towards it?
I'll just continue where my previous speaker has just stopped actually, and then I'll come to your particular question where how we can start data informed journey in terms of integrating all the information that are available across all the different kind of platform. So this is geospatial data not only create values once it's integrated into the planning or workflow planning, which are basically for the planners, basically which we already are using in certain cases. So I'd just like to mention here one example where through a World Bank funded project, we also try to integrate whatever as far as the disaster management space is concerned, whatever data that are available across different agencies, right from the different alert generating agencies to to different kind of data generating agencies. So once we integrated that into one platform, we can, of course, we can generate geospatial data enable inform decision or inform data, which so that it does not become a standalone kind of dashboard, which that sits apart from daily operations, or we really operate those platforms rarely, once in a blue moon or once in a week, twice in a week. So that kind of integration is really required for all the department, all the various departments, to making it a more use cases for for long term planning. So in our case, if I take the example of where we are collaborating both Assam State Disaster Management Authority, Government of Assam, and WRI, and other our partner organization, like from government side, the education department and other allied departments, along with other funding agencies and funding sources. So it's basically I would rather say it's become a turning point for Asdama also to come up with API link Energy Access Explorer directly into our portal, our Dreams portal, and which are basically used by like our field officer on day-to-day basis, and those data are being fed in those particular platform every day, actually during the monsoon season, during the notified flood season, as well as during the storm and other disaster season. So these platforms are already in use. So while marrying both the platform, actually, it's becoming very helpful for us, for us to, particularly for the planners, to, come up with certain, cross references, which are otherwise are available in two separate systems or two or three different, portals or systems that were there actually. So in fact, analyzing those two separate set of data, two, three or four, five, separate set of data, looking on those, individual, systems, it also become very time consuming process. So where people like us in disaster management, we work in very time pressure condition where like we need to deliver things in precise time actually. So in that case, energy access layers simply become more, field visible where decision can be taken up at quickly, and we, we can learn from those, lesson in integration of those platforms. And in fact, this is also, open idea, as I mentioned, we have also started integrating all the available platforms that are there in terms of, disaster on the part of disaster management, whole gamut of disaster management. So, and that has also become a very use cases for us actually. And at the last, I would say that this is basically a good practice that all the department, whatever data that are available, if we can, integrate those things, it becomes actually handy and useful for various department to look at different perspectives actually. And this gives totally a whole different kind of perspective for different departments actually. And it's I really when I discuss and talk about our integration of both the Energy Access Explorer and Dreams portal, so even in education department also find it more value added to their planning as well. So this has been really been appreciated and openly acknowledged by education department whenever, because during the course of this particular implementation of this particular project, we have a set committee where representation of all various departments are also there, and they have openly appreciated this kind of integration. So this is kind of lesson that we have learned, and I believe that in near future we'll also go ahead with similar kind of integration. And I believe you know in those journeys, WRI India and other similar kind of organization would be very helpful with our learnings whatever we have had in recent past 1 year. Thank you.
Thank you, Kripal. So you actually, brought to the point which Abdul started with, right? We wanted to have demand data, supply data together. And he also mentioned that EAE as a digital public good talks about interoperability with different tools, different data set. So, and that is something we're also looking. So my next question to you, Kripal sir, and I'm pretty sure Mathung sir would also love to hear that, is because you talked about Dreams portal, right? And Dreams portal, as I know, is it collects data from the ground. So it would be very interesting for us to understand that how do you collect the data, how does the validation happen, and then how interlinkages then come in, because while we bring the data, and also to chime back, right, EAE has the data at the satellite data, national data, census data, it also has the data from surveys. So and then we add the data from different portals. So then how the data quality validation, and when we're integrating, how do we ensure that the data speaks to each other and it's not in that PDF formats. You did
Isolation.
mention APIs, so that, so
Hmm.
I think pretty sure Mathun sir and I would be very interested to hear about it.
Yeah, basically, as far as the authenticity of the data is concerned, as you are inquiring, so this basically the entire process It's a very stringent process where we, our field officer at the field level, they actually collect those data from different department reports at the field level, at the revenue circle level, the taluka level, basically. It's the lowest administrative, setup in our district, in our core districts. So from there, actually, it comes, doubly verified at the field level, where our field officers, they enter those data submitted by the different department in the DREAMS portal, and then it is double crossed by the revenue circle officer, local magistrate, and once they are satisfied with the data, once the department satisfied with the kind of information that are being fed in the particular system, then only it gets approved. And we also have a system of disapproving the data at each level, actually, from revenue cycle level, at the district level, at the state level also. So once that is once that particular data is verified and approved at the revenue cycle level, it comes to the district level, our 24/7 emergency operation center. The common terminology is the control room. So control room people, they again verify those data actually with the field reports that they get in through different means, and then they look at that whether this data submitted by different revenue circles are holistic or not, whether it has integrated all the aspects or not, and then they have got the right to reject the report, or they can verify the report. They can't approve the report because approval right is with the district commissioner or the district magistrate or the additional district magistrate. So they can verify the data. Once it is being verified, then again district commissioner or the additional district commissioner, they look at those data on the part of comprehensiveness of those data, and then they approve it. At the state level, similar exercise is also continues at our state control room, and ultimately at the state control room, we again look at those data of each village, like each revenue circle, each district, and then once we are satisfied, then only we approve those data, and those kind of flood report, storm report, or even lightning reports. We basically gather data on 7 different disasters in through DIMS portal. This one is your flood, daily flood report, urban flood report, then storm report, lightning report. Then we have erosion report, the land, riverbank erosion report, which is a state-specific disaster for the state of Assam. Similarly, we also gather information or data with respect to fire incidences. So this kind of reports are 7 different kind of reports are being generated in the DREAMS portal every day. And whenever those kind of in case of earthquake, whenever there is an earthquake, the districts or revenue circle, they report that. So this is a kind of a very stringent 2-3 layers of approving and looking at the data, and finally publishing those data into the public platform. So in that way, we gather those data. As far as authenticity of those data are concerned, it's very I would say it's a very comprehensive kind of data. In fact, whatever submission government make to central government or to any other agency for post-disaster need assessment, for taking help of multilateral agencies also, it's ultimately since last, it has been almost 6 years from 2021. We have been using, at that time the terminology was different. That time we call it FRIMS. Only we experimented with the flood data. So since 2024, it has been expanded to almost 7-8 different disasters. So what I'm saying is like the entire system, the entire government system in our state is dependent on the DREAMS data only for submitting anything to the state government, central government, or to in that particular case to any of the multilateral agency for funding to the our recovery planning or rehabilitation planning also. So in last 2-3 years, it has become a backbone for the entire disaster governance as far as data are concerned, the DREAMS, particularly the DREAMS system. So, and once we integrated that, as I mentioned in my earlier, once we integrated EAE, so it ultimately added a value to our data set also. So I hope I can able to, justify the kind of question that you put forward.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
No, very,
Okay.
very helpful, especially because you talked about the data quality and the importance of doing the data. I also understand that Dreams data is like 6 years old data,
Mhm.
so having legacy data also adds value. I will actually go to Matung sir, and then uh, I what I want to, because he's the GIS, the project director in GIS department. So, and I think it's a very this thing. So building a great map or a tool is one thing, but having people use it, right? Policymakers, implementers use those data is another thing. So, what do you think would, has been the most successful strategy when it comes to building trust, capacity among other state officials, so that they also feel as confident on GIS, geospatial tools, geospatial data, when it comes to their planning and their departmental activities?
Oh, well, very interesting and then very important at the same time. Well, experience has taught us that technology adoption does not happen simply by developing a groundbreaking technology or anything of that spatial GIS platform. It does not really happen because of that. Rather, for officials to actually use it, the technology should be simple, relevant, and useful to all concerned. So this simple, relevant, and useful is the three things. The most successful approach for us has been the involvement of line department directly in the process, rather than treating GIS as something that is like developed or that is only meant for technical expert or professionals. It is for everybody, and everybody can use it. So when we take technology to the grassroots, to the village level, we take technology to them and let them do it for us. Like say, for instances, I'm just diverting a little bit from like even in that's what I'm trying to say. Like even in the village level, we take projectors or monitor big screen and let them get involved rather than we ask question and then they will do it and they will point things, they will point the geographical location, they'll give different query, they will respond to all the queries. Now they are part of the system. So in that way, like involving the line department directly in the process, and then GIS is not rocket science. Under the state geospatial initiative, we have also a common facilitating unit at the center, the Nagaland GIS and Remote Sensing Center. And we also have identified nodal officials from all line department in the state to work closely with the center. And then we have been conducting regular trainings, orientation, hands-on program, workshop, so that the officials, government, also department officials understand how GIS can support their own departmental planning and development strategies. Another important factor is the demonstration. The factor is demonstration, training, and institutionalization. First, like when it comes to demonstration, a practical solution using the department's own data and requirements. So you demonstrate using their data. Second, build the capacity of the concerned officials through trainings. And the third is institutionalize the system by creating a common technical support mechanism through our center. So but most of the time it is through our center because not all department has its own GIS remote sensing unit. And then we have this close coordination with departments nodal officers. So these are some of the approaches that we use. Similar to our EAE platform, when we say like in terms of EAE platform, in terms of solar potential, hydro potential analysis, or even crop suitability analysis for agriculture, we have approached in the same manner, like in terms of giving demonstrating the application in terms of getting trend, and then we are working out to institutionalize the whole of the application so that it can be like it can be used by, it has a far-reaching impact. That's what we are working on. And also, as mentioned by you regarding another aspect, the trust, the factor of trust. Trust comes from the data ownership. That's really important. We encourage department to validate their own data sets while our uh, uh, while our center provides technical platform standards and analytical support. That's the part where this gives the departments confident that GIS is not replacing their domain knowledge. Rather, it is strengthening their capabilities. Also, another trust factor comes, or it is built with faith and confidence. And we have seen the similar process with WRI in Nagaland. Trust built over time through continuous engagement and demonstration of the work, and rest assured that it works for greater good and benefit of the state. So now data sharing has become relatively much easier. Ultimately, our objective is to move GIS to be viewed as some kind of specialized technical tools to becoming a routine decision support system for governance and developmental planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So I would actually say that, it has been so good to be working with the partners and, like you in Nagaland, Kripal sir in Assam, Arindam sir in Jharkhand State Livelihood, who couldn't join us because of external field visit. Or we had Dr. Dinesh, who was supposed to join from EMC because the last minute government invited him to for a meeting. But so we are able to have the journey or the growth or the development because of the trust the partners actually put it on us. And it's a two-way street, right? We are there to actually be doing things and working together for the development of the state. I would actually ask this question to Kripal sir, because I also know that the webinar will be posted, and people would they are very interested to know that so what has been uh, when you started the data informed journey, what is the important lesson you learned about adopting geospatial data into your daily planning?
So it's basically when you have static data, which we used to have earlier, and manual kind of data, then and when we embed that with the geospatial platform, ultimately how it changes like the visualization, you know, and the way you look at those data and inform decision making. So a single set of data will not be that kind of policymaker. If I tell you policymaker and practitioners like us, for us it is like we need a holistic kind of overview of whatever data that we have had in our hand. So when we integrate those things with the geospatial platform, obviously it gives us a freedom of looking at those data with a different kind of perspectives, and it ultimately opens our eyes on to different kind of aspects that are there with respect to those data set that are already available, and however these are not interoperable. So once you make it interoperable, it becomes useful not only for you but also for the other partners and other related departments. They can also take informed decision at certain cases, and it also become useful for looking at and studying and analyzing the past trends actually. So whenever we discuss about the trends of past events and predicting the future this thing actually course of action, then it's also become very useful in those cases if we have interoperable data and basically the data set that we can integrate with other platforms. So in that way, actually, it becomes really useful for not only for government department but also for, as I mentioned, multilateral agencies. Let me just give you an example of how, this kind of data set has really helped us in, prioritizing certain of our activities also. We have been also working with other multilateral agencies like UNICEF and all. So, this year actually we are trying to come up with, certain action points, again, those relief camps, particularly this, integrating child-friendly spaces, which is ultimately, and again, another agenda of, UNICEF to promote uh, children, targeting children, address, risk reduction activities during the response phases, during the, rehabilitation phases. So in that way, our dreams reports where we integrated or we collect the data of, number of children that are taking shelter in the relief camps, number of children being affected during the flooding or any kind of, incidences, including women. So, and also the pregnant women and lactating mothers. So this has really become helpful for also for them to, interact with similar kind of departments like health and family welfare, social welfare department. Now it's known as Women and Child Development Department in Assam. So it becomes useful for them actually to, where, they want to, do their intervention during flood response phases, during first 72 hours, during first 1 week of, flooding in those areas, those villages, or those relief camps. So in that way, earlier, those kind of flexibilities, those kind of, usefulness of data was not available when we used to have, manual kind of compilation of all the flood reports, situation reports, in last decade actually. So that has really, become handy for not only for us, but for also for other departments. So similarly, your Energy Access Explorer platform also it becomes, useful for us, identifying the energy required, where are the energy demands are there and which are the relief camps that we need to prioritize for our solarization, activities. And similarly, as I mentioned, the data's standalone datas, which are mostly in silos, like we have, I would not, mention particular departments, but like, there are some early warning, agencies which gives early warning at the central government. There are certain agencies at our state government also, like, which look after the water resource related activities, like, irrigation, water resources, and other departments. So they also have their, set of data, but those are in very silos actually. Once we started, integrating in one of our, platform, similar platform, we call it Joruri Ohio. So this is a very interesting platform that we are, we are trying to develop with the help of World Bank funded project. So it becomes a really, interoperable. And we'd also like to, request WRA India so that your, whatever information you have in EAE platform, if we can also integrate with our Zoruri Hoyak, platform, where we have integrated Dreams data also. We have integrated, information released by Central Water Commission. We have integrated information released by, IMD. We have integrated information related that are available with the agriculture department as well in their different, kind of portal. So in that way, informed decision can be taken up by, not only by practitioners, disaster management practitioners like us, but also similar kind of departments like agriculture department, like, water resources department, when targeting their, communities or targeting their, activities whenever they go to different, fields, different, prioritizing their, area of operation, prioritizing whenever they come up with new projects in different, revenue cycle, different blocks and all. So they can do, they can run those things in either in our platform, or maybe if it is interoperable, then it can be, it can be optimized in any of those platforms that are available, already available. So in that way, once you, once your data interact, once data available in different platform interact, once they marry, and definitely you get a very good, visualization, and it really saves. I can assure you, it's really save time of the policymaker. It, gives a different aspect to the policymaker, and really helps all the developmental activities that are being run by the state government or centrally sponsored fund, or in fact multilateral funding agencies. So that is all that I would like to highlight it here, how if we make our data interoperable, it will really brings wonders to all our active projects and ongoing activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Kripal sir. And I'm pretty sure that Mathung sir would have completely agreed on having data interoperable and, talking to each other. And so, based on what you said, right, we did a data maturity assessment exercise in Jharkhand at one point, just to understand, what kind of the data is there, what kind of maturity is there. Because sometimes different departments, and we did it along with JSAC, because whatever the work we're doing, it's, partners first and then WRI. And like when you said, sir, EAE. So EAE Assam is Astama plus WRI India. EAE Nagaland is Nagaland GIS, and then Nagaland Livelihood Mission, and then WRI India, because it's partner first who have been actually working and doing the trust. So I would definitely, we can definitely share our readings or understanding on data maturity assessment, why it is done, why it is helpful, and how it is something which can be done. I see we're on time, but before we close the panel uh, discussion, I wanted to and we go to Q&A. I wanted to check with Matung sir if you have something to add on to the conversation we have been having, or something if I've missed. Sorry, sir, you're on mute.
Sorry, you are mute.
Sorry. I kept my microphone off. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you're
Yeah, am I
audible.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, basically, I was thinking like during my next meeting with the team WRI, I was thinking like perhaps I can ask some questions. That was what right as of now I may not have the, but I was just thinking like one thing like how can this EAE output like and if there is a possibilities, that's what I will be linked with actual government schemes, budgeting, or even project prioritization, so that the analysis translates into implementation on the ground. So I was thinking like, how do we do that? I think, is it a fair question in the first place?
I think so that question would need a lot of brainstorming, but yes, we would really love to actually get into the weeds, right? How do we actually make it more impactful and more, useful for the users and different, partners who might use it in different ways. So I think, yes, we should definitely do the whole discussion that how do we then, bring in the data. But having said that, we should also, understand that like not understand, but we'll also need to figure out that how do we ensure that EAE then does justice to the data protection, and we don't bring in, either we are aggregating the data, we are not giving anything personal, outside. So when we talk about data protection, we do talk about that how the data of India should be in India, which is like very basic thing. But as we go into more details, maybe the way we have been working, right? Who has the read rights, who has the review rights, can then becomes more all the more important than which department is putting what data, how they're using. But one of the things which we've already started working on it is to actually map the different schemes which are there, so that once the analysis is done or identification of interventions, uh, users can also see that these are the schemes which can be relevant for me as a starting point. But I think we should definitely have discussion to understand how do we take in the direction where it is useful and it can support all the way more.
Well,
I think,
well,
if I
thank,
may,
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think we can have a separate kind of, different kind of, session on it, whether like how the data that are available with EAE platform, and you know you are integrating different platforms in EAE, environment. So how it would be useful for different stakeholder, different agencies, apart from the already partners who are there. Maybe we can learn it from the other states. Like last time in partnership, I was really interested to learn about the experiences of Jharkhand state, particularly when uh, the sir from I think he was from the Panchayat department, maybe from Jharkhand. He
Livelihood
was,
department, sir.
yeah. So he was mentioning about the, with the EA platform, how they have leveraged it for identifying the perennially drought-prone areas, and how they can, use those data and EBI, I mean diversion-based irrigation in particular areas, so that it can help marginalized farmers. So similarly, in our state also, we have lot. I mean, few of our revenue circles are uh, rain deficit revenue circles, which obviously borders with Nagaland. So I might be knowing those areas, particularly Fonkothar area in Golaghat district, and there are certain areas in Hosai district as well. So it would be, and also some districts or some blocks which borders with Meghalaya, the state of Meghalaya. So it would be really interesting for us also to learn, uh, because we also have DBI, diversion-based irrigation system in very small pocket areas actually, and those are being implemented by a few local civil society organization and local NGOs, supported by few of the funders actually. So if you would like to, mainstream those things to the irrigation department, I think those kind of, because in the state of Assam, basically irrigation department looks after this kind of activities. So that would be really helpful for us actually to learn how Jharkhand has leveraged your particular platform to come up with, prioritizing those areas where the DBI is really required. Until and
I
unless these initiatives were being taken up, as I mentioned, on ad hoc basis or on demand basis. Actually, say a particular organization is working in this particular block or revenue circle, so they prepare a particular project document, and they request certain funding agencies or government to leverage that for them. So a better way would be to look at this kind of platform through which we can prioritize that. So that would be my response to what Kitan sir has asked, and he has raised that particular goal. Thank you.
I felt like, sir, you're just giving a teaser to all partners meet. Definitely, we're going to do that in that, and we hope to see you. So, Dinesh sir from Energy Management Center, Kerala, was able to join us. Dinesh sir is the joint director at EMC. Sir, can you hear us? And because we're on time, so I'll try to also wrap up a little bit quickly. Uh,
Thank you. Thank you. In fact, I was a bit late due to meeting, important meeting with the secretary of our assistant. Okay. In fact, I could not get to major part of your session and all.
So it's very fair. I'll just ask you one question because we have been WRI India Energy Program. You work with colleagues on geospatial data like LSG, renewable energy potential. So if you can just very quickly maybe chime in that how geospatial data has helped EMC where the mandate is to have renewable energy efficiency. So that would be really helpful, sir.
It is the we cannot just consider energy as a separate layer. It should be actually connected to the locations as well, because be it be the generation or energy efficiency, if you can have a location based data and a pure mapping of that what is happening where, our planning can be a bit more effective. And I would rather say that not just in planning, even in the case of execution works as well, prioritizing where to do the different interventions as far as renewable energy or energy efficiency priority areas can be identified right away in the map, and allocation of funds, everything can be done. That will be a very good initiative if we can have a sort of a geo package wherein all these things are available on what do you say, directly accessible at on a I would rather ask you one more thing. If that package, if your has a provision for sort of adding data from the user side, that will be much more useful. Not just like it has some data, but new data cannot be added. I would rather have more access to providing data into the map so that it can be either be public or maybe private also. For some certain government projects, it may be difficult, but otherwise, keeping it in private also is a very good opportunity if it can happen. Something.
Thank you, sir. So we can definitely add more data, especially from KSEB. We have the data. We have the data from on wind potential, and like Kerala in EAE right now is in password protection. So whenever Ijaz and you're talking, it's always in with password. So definitely we can do add more data, add more inputs, and take it from there. And so because we are a little bit on short on time, what I would do is maybe if there's any question which is not answered till now, we can take it up, or otherwise then I can pass it on to Shaunak for closing, and then we'll also meet
Okay,
you.
you can if you want to have a specific any questions, kindly share it to me. I will reply what are my views and all, and with the perspective of the state government of Kerala as well, we can it will be much more effective. You can have that.
Sure, sir. I'll respond like you. I'll catch up with you offline on that. But if there's any question in the audience or any unanswered question, Abdul, Bina, maybe we can take that, or then see a question. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very good question, and maybe this might be interesting for Matung sir. From the state perspective, has there been challenges on field level validations of the GIS data set?
Come again?
So somebody wanted to understand that, from the state perspective, have there been challenges on field level validation of the geospatial data set?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like there's a lot of challenge. So we have these like data cleansing, revalidation, field validation, so many level of for data authentication process undergoes. As one of our panelists, Dr. Vipul has also mentioned, like in his disaster, in this NSDMA, like they have different protocol, different level, different layers of authentication process that undergoes. Similarly, it is that for even for all data that is been collected on the ground. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. So maybe I'll invite Shaunak to close the webinar and then for the next steps.
Hi, Akanksha. Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. Um, so hopefully that was an enjoyable and educational webinar for all of you, right? So I'm just going to close out the session with a couple of points. I don't want to keep you folks away from your evening beverage of choice, whether that be coffee or tea. So Bina mentioned in introduction that this was the first of a series of webinars that have been designed to introduce and showcase all of the products, tools, platforms that all of the programs at WRI India have been building or have already built, right? Our next webinar is going to be on Elevate, which is on the 27th. And this is essentially an interactive tool that enables energy distribution companies in India to assess the impact of electrical vehicles on the electricity grid. Second point, during Connect Karo, we'll also have a dedicated space where we'll be hosting, where all of the programs will be hosting a number of their tools and products. And they'll walk you through those tools and products, and they will also allow you users to essentially go and play with them. That dedicated space will be open for both the days. And we invite all of you to come and see what tools and products have been built by WRI, right? On the screen, you can see a QR code. That is where you register for Connect Karo. And then to cap it all off, feedback on both, right? These webinars and then the dedicated space would be most welcome. So feel free to sort of contact us. We are just beginning on this journey, so it would be very interesting to hear from you. What are the things that we might be able to do better, or are there things that you are interested in that haven't been sort of folded into this series? So having said that, I'll close the session off.